Brain of Britain, the nationwide general knowledge contest, chaired by Russell Davis.
Thank you, and a warm welcome once again to the Radio Theatre in London, where another heat of Brain of Britain's 2023 tournament is about to get underway. All of our competitors here today have been through quite a rigorous audition and selection process to get even this far. And of course, we wish them all the best of luck. Someone has to win, and whoever does so will be going through to the semi-finals of the competition in the autumn. Let's meet our four contenders.
Hello, I'm Eleanor Ayres, a solicitor from Cambridgeshire.
I'm Matt Barr, I'm from Bolton and I work in AI.
I'm Richard Burr from Colchester and I'm an NHS worker.
Hello, I'm Ruth Downing, I'm a judge sitting in crime in South London.
We don't need to dwell on the rules. They've been more or less steady through 70 seasons of Brain of Britain, and there aren't many of them in any case. Just remember that everyone is allowed 10 seconds thinking time for each of their own questions, and I'd urge you please to let your fellow competitors have that time without flashing your lights impatiently to pick up a bonus before they've thought it through. If you're all sitting comfortably, we go around in alphabetical order of surnames, so the contest begins with you, Eleanor Ayres. In the human body, what's the more informal name for the trachea?
The windpipe.
Yes. Which ministerial post was abolished in the late 1960s when the post office became a public corporation?
Postmaster General.
Yes, Tony Benn famously held the post, as did Neville Chamberlain, and very briefly Clement Attlee. Unveiled amid great excitement in 1947, the new look, capital NL, was associated with which fashion designer?
Christian Dior.
Yep. The long dark beans known as vanilla pods are the fruit of what type of plant?
An orchid.
Yes, an orchid. A great deal of the vanilla flavouring used in food production today is artificially created with petrochemicals, of course. Avraham Levy, Michael Bolton, Mordecai Nissim Tapiro, David Sharon and Simon Leviev are all pseudonyms used by the Israeli conman Shimon Hayut, known by what nickname since he reluctantly appeared in a 2022 Netflix documentary?
The Tinder swindler.
Yes, he used the dating app Tinder to contact women who might lend him large sums of money, which they did. And that is 5 in a row, and bonus one. Well, that's laying down a challenge, if you like. Matt Barr, we come to you. A cubic metre is equal to how many litres?
100.
No. Yes, Ruth Downing.
1,000?
1,000 is the right answer. Well done. Richard Burr, during the English Civil War, while the parliamentarians held London, in which city did the Royalists establish their rival capital?
Oxford?
Yes, it was. Which town in the far north of Scotland shares its name with a strip of porous material up which liquid fuel is drawn by capillary action?
Pass.
Okay. Eleanor Ayres?
Wick.
Yes, yes. That last bit was all a pedantic description of a candle's wick. Ruth Downing, with music and lyrics by Cole Porter, which musical is set on board the SS American?
Sailor Ahoy.
No, Matt Barr?
Anything goes?
Anything Goes is right. The original book was a collaborative effort by Guy Bolton and P.G. Wodehouse, revised for the musical by Howard Lindsay and Russell Krause, and that's the end of round 1. These are funny-looking scores. Everyone has 1 point except for Eleanor Ayres, who has 7. And that's what 5 in a row will do for you. We come back to you, Eleanor Ayres, and you get to hear music from Lerner and Lowe's My Fair Lady, the musical based on George Bernard Shaw's play Pygmalion. Can you name the character who's in a rush to tie the knot?
I'm getting married in the morning. Ding dong, the bells are gonna chime. Pull out the stopper, let's have a whopper, but get me to the church on time.
Doolittle.
Yes, you remember the rest of his name?
Mr.
I'll give you that for cheek. Alfred P. Doolittle he was, yes. You heard Stanley Holloway in the role, which he played on Broadway, the West End, and in the film version in 1964. Gustave Eiffel's company, before creating the tower in Paris that bears his name, also constructed the metal framework for which other famous monument offered to the United States as a gift from France to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the American Declaration of Independence.
Statue of Liberty.
Yes. In which month of 1066 was the Battle of Hastings fought?
October.
Was that a guess?
Yes, it was a guess.
It's the right answer. October the 14th is the generally agreed date. Spring 2023 saw the Royal Ballet celebrate the 75th anniversary of the director and choreographer Frederick Ashton's original interpretation of a ballet that the company had last performed in 2011. It was the first full-length English classical ballet to be performed at the Royal Opera House and is set to a score by Prokofiev. What ballet is it?
Romeo and Juliet.
No. Worth a guess? Yes, Richard Burr.
Peter and the Wolf.
It wasn't? No. No more tries? Yes, Matt.
Love for Three Oranges.
No. No more.
I feel I should say something, but no.
It was Cinderella. Matt Barr's question. In 2022, which American attorney and author published the book The Light We Carry, Overcoming in Uncertain Times?
Michelle Obama.
Yes. One of the participants in the gunfight at the OK Corral in Tombstone, Arizona in 1881 was a dentist. Who was that?
Doc Holliday.
Yes, insofar as he pursued any honest trade, he was a dentist and was mythologized as a formidable gunfighter, although his only documented killing seems to have been at the OK Corral. Which disease is known to German speakers as Studentenfieber or student fever?
It's a glandular fever.
It's glandular fever, yes, otherwise known as the kissing disease, because that's one of the most common ways of passing it on. One of my sons got it about 10 days into his student career. Typical. During the 1910s, John D. Rockefeller became the world's first billionaire. What did the D in John D. Rockefeller's name stand for?
David.
No. Worth a guess, perhaps, Ruth Downing?
Daniel.
No. It was Davison. Richard Burr, Sheikh Hasina Wazid, has served as the Prime Minister of which South Asian country since January 2009?
Brunei.
No. Eleanor Ayres?
Bangladesh.
The People's Republic of Bangladesh. That's right. Ruth Downing, on the 3rd of April 1721, who became the First Lord of the Treasury and, in effect, Britain's first Prime Minister?
Walpole.
Yes, he remains the longest holder of that office, serving slightly under 21 years. In Japan, what is a ryokan?
I think it's the traditional hotel where you sleep on futons on the floor.
It is an inn, yes, indeed.
Yeah.
A type of traditional Japanese inn that typically features tatami-matted floors, futon bedding, and communal baths, yes. According to an obituary that appeared on the front page of the New York Times in 1975, which fictional character was said to have ended his days at a nursing home in Essex, where he wore a wig and false moustaches to mask the signs of age that offended his vanity?
No.
No, okay. Matt Barr?
Poirot.
Sorry?
Poirot, Hercule Poirot.
Hercule Poirot is the right answer. That was the first time the NYT had published an obituary of a fictional character. It appeared in advance of the publication of the final Poirot novel. End of another round. Here are the scores. Richard Burr, 1 point. Ruth Downing, 3. Matt Barr, 5. Eleanor Ayres now 11. Well, we're going to pause the contest then, as we normally do, around the halfway point, to see if our competitors can deal collaboratively with a couple of questions suggested by a Brain of Britain listener. We call this Beat the Brains, and if our listener manages to achieve that, they'll win a book voucher prize. Today, from the many hundreds you've sent us this year, we've chosen questions thought up by regular listener Jeff Hope Terry, who lives in a lovely part of the Cheshire countryside near Tarporley, and says it's high time he had a go at beating the brains. There is a thematic connection between his questions which will become apparent, so put your heads together and see what you make of these. Here's Jeff's first question. A dragon and what other animal flank the escutcheon or shield of the coat of arms of the first Tudor monarch of England, Henry VII?
The dragon's his Welsh side. His other side was French.
Unicorn and Dragon's a song, isn't it? I don't know if that's...
Unicorn.
The unicorn's Scottish, and there wasn't any Scottish involvement at that point.
Is it lined? I'm just saying.
Could be a lion. A lion's
Could be a lion.
obvious.
It feels like it's such a... Yeah, why would they ask that? It's just such a...
Doesn't the unicorn
cruel.
is looking?
Well, Scotland was completely separate at that point, though. His mother was... Margaret Beaumont was his mother, she said.
Oh, yeah.
Lion's probably as good as anything.
Yeah, if you've got anything better, happy to...
Yeah.
We're going to say lion.
No, I'm afraid not. It was a greyhound.
Wow. Okay.
The coat of arms combined the emblems of Henry's parents, the dragon of Edmund Tudor, his father, yes, and the greyhound of Margaret Beaufort, his mother. Here's Jeff's second question then. What notable first did the greyhound Primley Sceptre achieve in 1928?
I have no idea.
First on TV, something maybe like that?
28 could be, yeah.
Because, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
They
they
did
won
air-
the first televised race.
They did do, like, I think Greyhounds was one of the first televised things, like sport contests.
I
but-
don't want to cloud the issue. I'm just, your guess is as good as mine. So.
Should we go with that?
Yeah, let's go with televised. Won the first televised Greyhound race.
I'm afraid not. No, in 1928 it would have been difficult.
Yeah.
It was still being tampered with in drawing rooms, I think,
Very
at that
small,
point, but still. No, he was the first ever Best in Show award at Crufts.
Wow.
Primley Sceptre belonged to a Mr. Herbert Whitley of the Primley Estate in Devon. There have been 78 Best in Show winners since then, with 43 breeds represented, including 2 further wins by greyhounds. Jeff confesses that he's the owner of a retired racing greyhound. His track name was How's the Head, but Jeff says they just call him H, which caused some confusion during the final season of Line of Duty on TV. So well done, Jeff. You win our prize today, as the brains couldn't deal with both parts of your question. And you also earn, from our radio theatre audience, what I'm sure will be the best in this show, a round of applause. So, relaxation over. Let's resume this Brain of Britain heat with the scores finally poised. Fingers back on buttons, and the next round begins with you again, Eleanor Ayres. Geologists divide the Mesozoic era into which 3 time periods?
Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous.
Right, covering the prehistory of the Earth between 252 million and 66 million years ago. Port Louis is the capital of which African island country in the Indian Ocean?
Mauritius.
Mauritius is right, yes. The otherwise unremarkable 64-gun third-rate ship of the line, HMS Raisonnable, was the first vessel on which a major naval figure in British history ever served. Which figure was that?
Nelson.
It was Nelson, yes, and he was under the command of Captain Maurice Suckling, who was his uncle. In Greek myth, which hero, having tamed the winged horse Pegasus, defeated the fire-breathing monster, the Chimera?
Bellerophon.
Bellerophon, or Bellerophontes if you prefer. Fika, a ritual downing of tools to socialise and drink coffee, and lagom, which means not too much and not too little, are both concepts central to the culture of which European country?
Could you spell the words?
Yes, Fika, fika, and lagom is Lagom.
Hungary?
No. Now, here's a chance for guesses. Surely. Matt Barr?
Poland.
No. Ruth Downing?
Portugal?
No. Richard Burr?
Greece?
No, it's Sweden, actually. Matt Barr, music for you now, and you're about to hear one of the later recordings made by a man who was very modest about his vocal abilities, but was very highly rated by many of the composers, such as Cole Porter, Irving Berlin, and Jerome Kern, whose songs he first introduced to the public. I'd simply like you to name him.
There's a new kind of dancing, gonna be the rage. You just leave yourself behind like an actor on a stage. Yeah. Cop a different pose from the pose you're in.
Dear. Perry Como?
No. Richard Burr.
Fred Astaire.
It was Fred Astaire, yes. Although he was in his late 70s by the time he recorded that Carly Simon song, Attitude Dancing. So it wasn't quite his typical voice, but it was him, yes. Richard Burr, the largest bone in the human body is the femur, or thigh bone. What's the second largest?
The humerus.
No. Eleanor Ayres?
Tibia?
The tibia, also known as the shin bone, yes. Ruth Downing, which English monarch signed the Magna Carta?
John.
King John, yes.
King John.
Yes. His best-known achievement, in fact, many would say his only achievement as king. What was the title, notoriously adapted by Margaret Thatcher in a conference speech, of the verse play by the poet Christopher Fry, which made his name in 1948?
The lady's not for burning and
Yes.
the lady's not for turning.
Yes, you turn if you want to. Ladies not for turning. Yeah. That was her adaptation. Fresh enough in the memory at the time she made the speech for her audience to find it funny. The illusion is more obscure these days, although the play has had occasional revivals. The official height of Mount Everest above sea level is now 29,031.7 feet. How high in feet was it believed to be in 1953 when first climbed by Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary?
31,000?
No. Eleanor Ayres?
30,000?
No. Matt Barr?
32,000.
No.
29,008.
That's much the best suggestion. It's 29,002. Well, it was quite a famous number at the time. That measurement had been calculated by the Survey of India in 1856 and not revised till after Tenzing and Hillary's conquest, when it was recalculated at 29,029 and a bit feet. End of a round. The scores are these. Richard Burr, 2 points. Matt Barr and Ruth Downing, 5 apiece. Eleanor Ayres, 16. And now, Eleanor Ayres, let's try you with this one. In his 12th century History of the Kings of Britain, which chronicler provided the earliest detailed version of the King Arthur legends?
Geoffrey of Monmouth?
Yes, the account from which all subsequent versions from Mallory to Tennyson took their inspiration. Which vintage animated children's television series featured the characters Madeleine, Gabriel, and Professor Yaffle?
Bagpuss?
Yes. Madeleine was a ragdoll, Gabriel a banjo-playing toad, and Professor Yaffle a wooden bookend in the shape of a woodpecker. The actor Stephen Ray and the comedy duo Conor Grimes and Alan McKee were often heard on British television and radio between 1988 and 1994, providing whose voice?
Gordon Gopher?
No. Richard Burr?
Jerry Adams.
It was Jerry Adams, yes. Following a row over Channel 4's plans to invite Adams onto the live discussion After Dark, plans which ultimately never materialised, Margaret Thatcher, again, imposed restrictions on British broadcasters to starve the terrorist and, this is the bit that's remembered, the hijacker, of the oxygen of publicity. That's when that arose. Matt Barr, found mostly in Australia, what kind of creature is a taipan?
Snake.
Yes, highly venomous and fast-moving. Clive James used to talk of the coastal taipan chasing people down the beach. Horrible thought. What board game was, with some justification, advertised in 1936 as the Rage of America?
Game of Life.
No, Eleanor Ayres?
Monopoly?
Yes, at that point it was selling 20,000 boxes a week. It was new. Richard Burr, music for you now. September 2023 marks the 50th anniversary of this orchestral piece, Eye Level, reaching #1 in the UK's charts, popularised by its use by Thames Television as the theme music of the Netherlands-based detective series Van der Valk. Can you name the credited artist performing here?
It's Simon somebody or other, but I can't remember.
Not going to come, okay. Anybody else remember? No, okay. You're right about the Simon. It was the Simon Park Orchestra. Writing credit went to Jack Tromby, one of several pseudonyms used by the Dutch composer Jan Stockart. Ruth Downing, providing inspiration for an English folk tale, which merchant and politician was made Lord Mayor of London in 1397, 1398, 1406 and 1419?
Dick Whittington?
Richard Whittington.
Or Richard Whittington.
Yes, indeed. In Gilbert and Sullivan's comic opera, what must the Baronet of Rudigore do every day to avoid the witch's curse and an agonising death?
I think he has to come back to the castle. Return at night.
No. Anybody remember? No? I thought Ruth Downing might get this because the answer is commit a crime. End of another round, and here are the scores. Richard Burr, 3 points. Matt Barr and Ruth Downing, 6 apiece. Eleanor Ayres, 19. And this, folks, will be, I have to tell you, the final round of the contest. And Eleanor Ayres, it's back to you. The designer Rachel Ashwell founded a furniture chain in 1989 and published a book in 1996 around an aesthetic which she described as the aura of old money, cushy comfort, and crafted indifference. What's the style called?
New England?
No. Matt Barr?
Shabby chic.
That's it. Well done. It takes some working out. It was shabby chic. Ashwell coined the phrase to define her concept of turning vintage thrift finds into casual and pretty yet elegant home decor. Matt Barr, what type of small round glass dish named after a German bacteriologist is typically used to cultivate cell cultures in laboratories?
Petri dish and Julius Petri.
Yes, Julius Richard Petri, who died in 1922. Whom did an American TV reviewer describe in 1956 as moving as if sneering with his legs?
I won't do the impression. Elvis Presley.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
I wish you had. Dublin is located in which province of Ireland?
I should know these. Embarrass myself. Leinster.
Right. Yes, you didn't embarrass yourself. It's right. In the TV series The Sopranos, the character Peter Paul Gualtieri has a nickname deriving from one of his early crimes when he hijacked a truck he believed to be carrying TV sets, only to find it was loaded with what?
Is that Paulie Walnuts?
It was, yes. It was loaded with walnuts, so he's known as Paulie Walnuts. A jury in a criminal trial in England and Wales usually consists of 12 members. How many members are there on a Scottish criminal jury?
14?
No. Ruth Downing?
15.
15. Yes, guaranteed to get that one. And it's Richard Burr's turn. Which mathematician of classical antiquity is often called the father of geometry?
Pythagoras.
No. Matt Barr.
Euclid.
Euclid. The series of books known as The Elements established his reputation. Ruth Downing, an extract for you to listen to now from BBC Schools Radio with Miranda Richardson reading a popular children's story. A question will follow.
Once upon a time, there were 4 little rabbits, and their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. They lived with their mother in a sandbank beneath the root of a very big fir tree. "Now, my dears," said their mother one morning, "you may go into the fields or down the lane, but please don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there. He was put into a pie by Mrs. McGregor."
No points or pies for identifying Beatrix Potter's The Tale of Peter Rabbit, but can you name the farmhouse in Cumbria where Potter lived when she penned this tale, and indeed many of her children's stories?
Hilltop at Sawrey.
Yes, the Hilltop Farm is now owned by the National Trust. Which major city of the USSR was declared closed to visitors in the 1950s, so that even many of Russia's own citizens had to seek special permission to go there, an order that remained in place for 35 years.
What had been Stalingrad?
No. Eleanor?
Star City?
No. Plenty more cities left? No? Okay. It was Vladivostok, and it was because of its military installations, considered sensitive by the Soviet authorities. And that brings us to the end of today's contest and leaves us with these final scores. Richard Burr, 3 points. Ruth Downing, 8. Matt Barr, 12. And Eleanor Ayres, 19. Meaning that it is Eleanor Ayres, after that terrific performance, whom we'll be meeting again in the autumn at the semi-final stage. Well done. And well done the other 3 of you for a terrific contest. Now, it's possible the contest may not end here for Matt Barr because he got a good double-figure score, and so he may be among the runners-up across the series who are appearing again. We won't know until a few more weeks have gone by. Next week, though, sees the first of our Salford contests. Join us then if you can. Thanks for listening today, and goodbye.